The next position we're going to talk about is the striker. So some formations have a lone striker, some formations have two strikers, some formations even have three strikers. It depends on how you set your team up. The striker's role is variable, depends on how you want to play, what other players you have around, to what your striker needs. So instead of telling a player, go play striker, let's go into more depth on what strikers' roles can be and what we can do to give players a better idea on how to fulfill their job. The first position and role we're going to talk about is what we call a false nine. So the striker's number is normally the number 9. So by saying a false 9 means they're basically a fake striker. So instead of always leading the line and being on the last man, they're looking to drop more into the attacking midfielder position. Right? So we create confusion between the two centre backs. Do they follow and allow spaces for other runners, or do they leave them and receive that ball into their feet without any pressure? So depends on your formation. If you're playing 2 up top in a 4-4-2, a false 9 will drop into these spots, allow this player to work into the spaces that this player has generated. So the false 9 doesn't look to receive that ball into spaces. They're looking to come in and get that ball into their feet, normally with their back towards goal, so they can either turn and play, turn and run, or turn and play that ball into those spaces that they've created by dropping and disrupting the defensive back line. So some instructions you can give your false 9 is, can you find these pockets of spaces in front of the defensive line, in behind their midfield to receive that ball? Now, another instruction you can give them is, when we get a defender, can we get a defender to follow us into those pockets? Can we get a defender out of that defensive line to create spaces for our runners to run into or balls to go into there? Alright, so that will give you an idea that we want to really disrupt that defensive line by getting this player to drop in. Man City used the false 9 striker a lot with Aguero, Sterling, all those players that sometimes play up high for Man City these days. They love to drop into those midfield, really get those combinations playing, disrupt that back line. And another player that does it well is Firmino for Liverpool. So he drops into these spaces, and then he's got Mane and Salah working off him. So that is the false 9. The next role we're going to talk about for our striker is something we call an advanced forward. So with an advanced forward, obviously we want them playing further up the field and work off the last line of defence. Normally they have really good speed, so they look to run into those spaces and look to run in behind the defensive line to receive balls. So they're looking to really get that ball into spaces. Alright, so into spaces, into gaps, in behind to drive into the box. With the advanced forward, they also work into channels. So instead of just working central, alright, we want to get that ball into spaces to create chances for other players. Alright, so when we move into this channel, this player might change positions and attack the box. Other players attack the box, and we've got players attacking the box from deep. So the advanced forward is looking to really get on that ball into spaces. The more with space we can get them, the deadlier they can be to create chances and fashion chances out for themselves. So some instructions you can give your advanced forward is, can we work off the last defender to receive balls into space? Offside traps obviously you have to be aware of, but working off that last defender, right, getting on the shoulder of the last defender allows space into here or even into here behind the defender. So we want them to work off the last defender, be ready to make those runs and turn the defenders around. Another one we look at is, can we move into channels? So can we receive the balls into these channels that we can run into to either drive into the box ourselves or deliver some crosses. So two great young players to watch for this role playing at the moment is Mbappe, plays for PSG, French striker, only young, brilliant runner with the ball, a really explosive pace, works well into these channels. And another one is Haaland. He plays for Dortmund. He's a Norwegian striker, really good runner with the ball. Again, young player, really exciting to watch. But both those players, watch their highlight reels and you'll get a good understanding of positionings and their strengths as an advanced forward. The next position we're going to work on with our striker is one that you've heard before, is the free roaming striker. So again, we've talked about him in these wide positions and we've talked about him in that central attacking midfield position. The free roaming striker, again, tries to disrupt the defensive line. So you'll see them drop into these spaces, let them roam around. Starting position is the striker, but you might see them into midfield, you might see them over the right, you might see them over the left. So the idea is to really get that player expressing their creative freedoms, really moving around. They're smart enough to know where to hurt defenders. They can see who to target, where to go, help out, and really work on getting into those spaces, getting that ball, and really having that expression, that freedom to take it to the game, take the game to the opposition. So some players, again, Messi, absolutely brilliant at it, gets into pockets of spaces, finds gaps. Aguero for Man City, he gets into these gaps. You'll sometimes see him into midfield, you sometimes see him out on the left, you sometimes see him out on the right. And Suarez as well, Luis Suarez. Not so much for Liverpool, but when he went to Barcelona, and sometimes for Liverpool, he got into this pocket of space. You'll sometimes see him over the left. You'll sometimes, again, drops into the midfield. He had that freedom, but you trusted that player that he knew what he was doing. As soon as he was doing stuff like that, it made things happen. So these are your X-factor players. So they're the players that create things. They can see the game. So some instructions you can give your free roaming player is just go out there. Go out there and influence the game. Go where you think you are needed. All right? Give them that freedom. The whole team knows that they've got that freedom. So if they see over there, well, they ask him to doing something. So he's got that freedom out there. So that is the free roaming striker. The next role for the striker we're going to talk about is what we call a target man. So the target is basically what it is. So the ball is hopefully going towards that player. So the target man's idea is to hold the ball up, stay strong on the ball, win the ball in the air. We don't really want to play that ball into these spaces for this player. We want that ball to be played to them. So the idea is they hold the ball up, which will allow players to run into better attacking positions for them to lay the ball up. So you can hold the defender off them while keeping that ball and then create spaces with players running beyond. So we want to work off this player. And to work off this player would mean once that ball's coming into their feet or into their head, they're looking to hold that ball or move that ball off while holding off defenders. So the target man is a strong player, strong on the ball, strong in the air. Another role for this target man is when we're looking for crosses, that's the person we're looking to play into. So every cross is looking for this player in the box because they are strong in the air, because they are strong on that ball. So wingers know when we get that ball, we're looking to hit that target man. So two good target men that come to mind. One is Peter Crouch. He's like 7 foot tall. He's retired now. Absolute astonishing to watch for the agility for a player of his height. Win headers in the air, could be strong on the ball. He was a real threat in that box from crosses. And another one is the Australian player that he's retired now is Mark Viduka. Really strong on the ball, not so much as height, but really strong on the ball, holds the ball up, creates those chances by being that strong, being that target where there was an outlet where you'll find Viduka, he'll hold it up, he'll make something happen with runners going beyond him. So check out their highlight reel. Other target man out there, there's a few of them. Just have a look at them, look at their positioning, watch their play, so you understand a better role of this position. So some instructions you can give your target man is, can we hold the ball up to allow players to run beyond us? So back to goal, hold the ball, letting players run, then feed that ball into those spaces that we've created. Another one will be, if there's a long ball coming in, can we look to flick that ball on beyond the defensive line? So by flicking that ball on, we've engaged a defender to win that header. So we win the header, we flick it beyond them, and hopefully then players know that ball's going to our target man's head. That means hopefully they're going to win that ball, which means we've got to anticipate and run beyond that defensive line. So that is the role of the target man. The next role we're going to talk about for our striker is the poacher. So just as a poacher, their name suggests, they're looking to score. That's their main role, is to score. So poach goals, steal goals, get into the box, get goals. So their main role is to score. So they are normally deadly in and around the box. We don't really want them on the ball around here. We want them on the ball here. Alright, so we don't want them to be, looking to create play around halfway. We want them to be advanced, we want them on the last man, and we want to feed them into the box. So they're looking to create chances for themselves. So they're going to be a little bit of a greedy player, but we want them to score goals. They're spearheading the attack. So we want to create chances for them. So they're normally a really good finisher of the ball. So as soon as they get half a sniff, half a chance, they're looking to take it. So if you've got a player who's given that poacher role, that poacher position a role in your team, and you're in space, but they've also got half a chance, it's a good chance that they're going to take it. So don't be too upset if they've been given that poacher role and they're having shots when you may have been in a better opportunity to score. Sometimes they'll pass it off, hopefully, but they're basically got their blinkers on, they're looking to score goals. So some instructions you could give your poacher is, when someone else shoots, you're in cleaning up the mess. You're in looking for rebounds. You're in there looking for little bobbles. You're in there looking for deflections. So it's their role to clear up any goals. Right? So if our midfield or our wingers are shooting the ball, right, they're there to really get into that box, clean up any tap-in goals. Another instruction you could give them is when you are in and around the box, be greedy. That's where we want you. We want you driving into that box. We want you creating chances for yourself. We want you taking that defense on and having shots. Get in the box, get goals. Right? Less touches in the box, more shots, hopefully create more goals. So 2 good players to watch their highlight reels for to understand the poacher role is Jamie Vardy, absolutely explosive player. You will see him hardly touch the ball around halfway. You'll see him hardly touch the ball in a game. But as soon as he's in and around that box with the ball or run into that space, you know he's a big threat. And another player to watch their highlight package is Van Nistelrooy. Played for Man United, Holland striker. He was absolutely deadly in the box. So get him in the box with the ball at his feet. You had a good chance of scoring for your team. Right, so watch their highlights, research into them, but they played that poacher role to the fullest of the extent. So that is the poacher. The next role we're going to talk about for our striker is the complete striker. So this striker has the strength of a target man, has the speed and the explosiveness of an advanced forward, and also has the deadliness of a poacher in and around the box. So these is the complete player. But by telling a player you're the complete striker, gives the team an understanding, okay, so they can receive that ball to feet. They can play that ball into that space. We are looking for that ball in the box for this player. But you've got to come up with some ideas on when to do that. So there's no point passing that ball into their feet when they're looking to get that ball into space. There's no point passing that ball into space when they want that ball to their feet. So it comes down to your training then, on when and where is appropriate to use this complete striker to their strengths. And it all comes down to that communication and that teamwork. So little signals. So if they're playing like this, holding the defender off, that means they want the ball to feet. If they want point forward, or if they give another indication, they might want that ball into space. So the complete striker is a player that can basically do it all. They love getting that ball in the feet, love into those pockets, look to create spaces and play for the other players, look to create chances themselves. So some instructions you can give your complete striker is tell the player where you want that ball. So tell the player that's on the ball where you want it. If you want that ball into space, give an indication that you do. If you want that ball to your feet, give an indication. If you want that ball up in the air, chest, head, give that indication. Another one, it will be, can we get that ball, hold that ball up and assess the situation. If you can turn and go at him. If you can turn and play that ball, look for it. But give that player a little bit more involvement, give them a little bit more of an idea of what you expect of them. So some great players that play this role well. Can't go past Cristiano Ronaldo these days. Getting on in age, but he's still at the top of his game. He's great in the air. He's great explosiveness. He's deadly in the box. He is the complete striker. And another one in the women's game, Sam Kerr. Australia's own Sam Kerr. She's making a name for herself. She's at the top of her game. She's playing for Chelsea, scoring goals for fun for the Matildas. She is good in the air, good in the feet, good into spaces, and deadly in the box. So look into their highlights, have a look at it. If you want to use your complete striker, let the players know, let the team know. But that is the roles for the complete striker.